Course evaluation. Evaluation involves the collection and interpretation of information about teaching and learning for decision-making purposes. Evaluation will show the QI what is working and what is not working in the classroom, what should be changed, and what should be left alone. To be an effective classroom manager, you must evaluate everything that's going on and make decisions about what to do based on the circumstances at hand. Instructor evaluation form. The instructor evaluation form is filled out by the student and evaluates the effectiveness of the qualified instructor and the course. The feedback gathered by the instructor evaluation is taken seriously by the U.S. Coast Guard and U.S. Captain's Training. Qualified instructors that consistently receive negative feedback will be audited internally by U.S. Captain's Training and externally by the U.S. Coast Guard. It's a common practice for the Coast Guard to put undercover students through approved courses to get a realistic sense of how the course is conducted. Course evaluation form. Course evaluation forms are filled out by the qualified instructor. They give the QI an opportunity to share changes which could improve the course as a whole. QIs have a chance to give feedback concerning the order of topics in the book, the flow of the course in general, practice problems which are erroneous or unfair, typos in the material, areas in the online classroom that have glitches or are confusing, and a place to give feedback on their overall feeling of the course. Examination procedures. Final examinations conclude a Coast Guard approved course. They're intended to assess the amount of usable knowledge a student has retained from the learning material presented throughout the course. It's important that the qualified instructor remains neutral towards each student during the final examination to ensure the integrity of the process. In cases where the final examination is administered in person after a brick-and-mortar course, it's best practice to bring in a proctor that did not teach the course to administer the final examination. This practice increases the probability that the proctor administering the exams is neutral towards each student and less likely to provide assistance. Furthermore, students are less likely to ask for assistance from a proctor they've just met. The Coast Guard's approval of online final examination greatly increases the integrity of the final examination process by removing any sympathy or empathy an instructor might feel towards a student during the final exam. An exam taken online through a learning management system is submitted by the student and graded automatically by the system with no emotion. In addition to removing emotions, mistakes in grading are removed, which further improves the integrity of the process. In addition to taking the QI's feelings out of the equation, the entire process is recorded and may be reviewed by a Coast Guard auditor at a later time, which creates more transparency in the final examination process than ever before. Each exam that makes up the final examination for a Coast Guard approved course should be recorded individually. For example, Rules of the Road and Navigation General final exams should have their own recordings. The following aspects should be captured and recorded during a final examination: the student's face, testing screen, workspace, and the student's audio feed, as well as the proctor's face and their audio feed. Capturing these aspects ensures the student is focused on their exam and their workspace is clear of any unauthorized material. Grading procedures. Grading is a process of applying standardized measurements for varying levels of achievements in a course. Qualified instructors that administer in-person final exams must grade each exam accurately. During a Coast Guard audit of an approved course, one of the primary objectives is to regrade a random set of exams to ensure consistency and integrity of the grading process for that course. In particular, they're looking for exams which were passed but would have been failed if they were graded accurately. If the Coast Guard finds consistent and frequent misgrading of exams, it's considered fraud. Marine training providers that knowingly commit fraud through misgrading of exams are eligible for 5 years in jail and a $250 fine. The only other thing I'd like to add is with these new online finals, there's less incentive by both the qualified instructor or proctor and the student to commit fraud as a team. And what I mean by that is if you take two people and they take an online course, right? Let's say the student takes an online course and they're ready for their finals, which must be done in person. So you take the student, you take the instructor, and then they both have to arrange their weeks to go meet at a location. And when they meet at that location, their main objective is to get through these exams. There's a lot of incentive on both parties to pass these exams because they arrange their weeks, they got time into it, they have money into it, they gas, food, lodging, the room where the exam is administered may have been paid for, so you have that on top of everything. So you get there and there's all this work going into it, time and effort, all going into this meeting, and the whole objective is to pass exams. So there's incentive on both sides. That incentive is bad. That's an incentive on both parties to help each other. So online finals, get rid of that. In order to take an online final, a student and an instructor or proctor simply open their computers, send a couple links, click a couple links, and now they're connected taking this exam. If the student now fails that exam, no problem. We just make them wait for 24 hours or so, cool down, study, and then they're able to just open their laptops again and try exam number 2. There's much less time and effort that goes into that scenario for online finals than in-person finals. So the integrity of the process is much, much better when you have an online final examination.